On April 1st, Archangel Michael brings focus to a situation quietly unfolding around you. What you hear may bring calm clarity. Open this message and stay with it for a moment. There is a reason you are here right now, listening to these words. This date is not random. It is not just another turn of the calendar. April 1st carries a subtle but powerful shift in the spiritual atmosphere around you. Something that has been forming quietly, almost invisibly, has reached a point where light must now touch it. And that is why Archangel Michael steps forward, not with noise, not with alarm, but with focus. For weeks, perhaps even longer, there has been something developing around you. It has not been dramatic. It has not been loud. It has moved beneath conversations, behind expressions, within small changes in behavior, in subtle patterns that seem too minor to question. You may have felt it without being able to explain it. A slight tension in the air, a sense that something is adjusting, even if no one has spoken about it openly. That quiet stirring you brush aside. It was not your imagination. It was discernment awakening. April 1st marks a moment of awareness. Not exposure meant to frighten you, but revelation meant to steady you. Archangel Michael does not arrive to create chaos. He arrives to bring order to what feels uncertain. And what makes this moment so significant is that the situation unfolding around you is not as threatening as your mind may have tried to make it. In fact, what you are about to understand will bring a deep, grounding calm. There is something powerful about divine timing. If this truth had been revealed to you too early, you might have reacted emotionally. If it had been delayed too long, confusion might have taken root. But now, right now, you are ready to see clearly without fear. That readiness is why this message reaches you today. The spiritual realm does not move randomly. It moves with precision. And April 1st is a marker of alignment. The situation quietly unfolding around you involves shifting dynamics. It may involve a person whose energy has subtly changed. It may involve a professional setting where something feels slightly off balance. It may even involve your own internal struggle, thoughts you have wrestled with privately. Whatever form it takes, the key word is quietly. This has not been loud enough to confront directly, but it had been present enough to feel. And when something remains quiet for too long, the mind begins to fill in the blanks. Assumptions grow. Doubts whisper. Anxiety tries to interpret what has not yet been clarified. This is where Archangel Michael's focus becomes essential. He does not bring accusation. He brings illumination. There is a difference. Illumination allows you to see what is real and what is imagined. It separates truth from fear. It steadies your breathing. It slows your thoughts. It gives you the kind of clarity that feels like standing on solid ground after walking through fog. You may be surprised to learn that what is unfolding around you is not meant to harm you. It is meant to reveal alignment. Some things are adjusting because they were never meant to remain as they were. Some connections are recalibrating. Some environments are shifting. And instead of resisting this shift, you are being invited to observe it calmly. April 1st is symbolic in another way. It is often associated with confusion and deception in the natural world. But spiritually, today carries the opposite message for you. Where there may have been uncertainty, clarity is coming. Where there may have been misinterpretation, understanding is arriving. What seemed unclear will begin to make sense, not in a dramatic explosion of information, but in a quiet realization that settles over you gently. Archangel Michael brings focus because focus is what you have been missing. Not because you are unaware, but because your attention hath been divided. You have been carrying responsibilities, emotions, distractions. And within all of that movement, this quiet situation continued forming. Now the divine is drawing your attention to it, not to overwhelm you, but to empower you. There is urgency here, but it is not panic-driven urgency. It is the urgency of awareness. When you become aware, you gain authority over your response. You stop reacting and start discerning. You stop fearing and start understanding. That shift changes everything. As this message unfolds, you will begin to recognize specific details in your own life that match what is being described. You will connect the subtle signs. You will remember moments that felt slightly unusual. And instead of anxiety rising, something else will happen. Calm clarity will take its place. This is why you must stay with this message for a moment. Because what is coming next will not disturb your peace. It will establish it. And once you see clearly, you will realize that April 1st was not a coincidence at all. That with the day focus returned to you. There is a reason this situation has remained quiet. It has not erupted. It has not confronted you directly. Instead, it has moved subtly like a current beneath still water. On the surface, everything may appear normal. Conversations continue. Routines remain intact. Responsibilities are handled. Yet beneath that surface, something has been shifting. And deep down, you have sensed it. Perhaps it started as a small inconsistency, a delay in communication that felt unusual, a tone in someone's voice that seemed slightly different, a change in behavior that you could not fully explain, not dramatic enough to accuse, not strong enough to confront, but present enough to register in your spirit. You tried to dismiss it. You told yourself you were overthinking. You convinced yourself it was temporary. Yet the feeling did not completely leave. This is how quiet situations unfold. They do not announce themselves. They test your discernment. They wait to see whether you will ignore what your spirit is picking up. And for a while, you did ignore it, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because sometimes reacting too quickly creates problems that were never there to begin with. But now, awareness is rising. The subtle tension you felt was not imaginary. The environment around you has been adjusting. Someone may be wrestling internally with a decision that affects you. A professional dynamic may be shifting behind closed doors. A personal relationship may be entering a new phase, even if words have not yet been spoken. And in some cases, this situation may not even involve another person. It may involve an opportunity forming quietly, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Silence does not mean absence. Just because no one has said anything does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, silence often protects processes that are still developing. Seeds grow underground before they ever break the surface. And what has been forming around you has required that hidden stage. You may have noticed small patterns repeating. A certain topic keeps resurfacing. A specific name keeps appearing. A door that once felt closed suddenly feels slightly open. Or perhaps a door that seemed secure now feels uncertain. These are not coincidences. These are signals. What makes this moment important is that you are being invited to observe rather than react. There is power in observation. When you observe carefully, you gather understanding. When you react prematurely, you interrupt clarity. Archangel Michael is not drawing your attention to this situation so that you panic. He is bringing focus so that you remain steady while others may not be. There may also be spiritual activity behind what appears ordinary, not in a dramatic sense, but in a strategic one. Alignments are shifting. Roles are being evaluated. Intentions are surfacing slowly. And if you pay attention, you will realize that what once felt confusing is beginning to organize itself in your awareness. The quiet situation unfolding around you is not random pressure. It is a recalibration. Something is being adjusted. Something is being revealed piece by piece so that you are not overwhelmed. And the reason it has remained subtle is because you needed time to grow into the clarity you are about to receive. You might even feel a sense of anticipation without knowing why. That inner alertness is your spirit preparing you. Preparation does not always look like action. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like waiting. Sometimes it looks like noticing what others overlook. If this message is already resonating with what you've been sensing lately, take a moment right now to acknowledge it. Like this video so more people who are experiencing the same quiet shift can find clarity. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next message meant specifically for this season. And share your experience in the comments. Sometimes your words will confirm what someone else hath been silently feeling. When you engage, you strengthen this community of awareness. There is something powerful happening in subtlety. And you are not behind. You are not unaware. You are becoming aligned with what is truly happening around you. The quiet unfolding is not a threat. It is information. It is preparation. It is the gentle lifting of a veil that was never meant to stay in place permanently. The key now is patience. Let the picture complete itself. Let the details come into focus naturally. You do not need to chase answers. You do not need to force conversations. Clarity is approaching in a way that will not shake your peace. What you sensed was real, but what it means is about to become clearer than you expected. Right now, in this very moment, Archangel Michael's presence is not distant from you. It is not symbolic. It is not poetic language meant to comfort you temporarily. It is active, protective, focused. When he brings attention to a situation, it is not to create fear. It is to establish order where uncertainty once lived. And that is exactly what is happening around you. You may have thought you were alone in trying to make sense of subtle changes. You may have questioned your own instincts. But what you did not see was a shield that has already been positioned around you. Protection does not always look like removing the situation. Sometimes it looks like guiding you through it with clarity so precise that nothing can catch you off guard. Archangel Michael is known as a defender, a guardian of truth, a warrior of light. But in this moment, his role is not loud battle. It is quiet revelation. He is bringing focus instead of alarm. He is strengthening your perception instead of triggering your panic. That is how you know this is divine protection and not emotional reaction. There is a difference between fear and clarity. Fear accelerates your thoughts. It rushes you into conclusions. It magnifies possibilities that may not even exist. Clarity, however, slows you down. It steadies your breathing. It allows you to see what is actually there without exaggeration. What you are about to receive is not information that overwhelms you. It is understanding that settles you. Protection is already active in your life. Conversations that could have exposed you prematurely were delayed. Decisions that might have been made without your knowledge were paused. Even certain distractions that once consumed your attention have been gently removed. You may not have recognized these as acts of protection, but they were. The calm clarity that is arriving now is a sign that you are under divine watch. If this situation were meant to harm you, confusion would be intensifying. Anxiety would be escalating. Instead, what you are feeling is a gradual sense of grounding. A quiet inner voice saying, "Observe. Do not rush. You are covered. Archangel Michael does not step in without purpose. If focus is being brought to this situation, it is because you are ready to handle it wisely. You are not being warned of disaster. You are being prepared for understanding. And there is power in understanding. Perhaps what has unsettled you most in recent weeks was not the situation itself, but the uncertainty surrounding it. Not knowing where you stand. Not knowing what someone else is thinking. Not knowing whether something is shifting for or against you. Uncertainty can create tension even when no real threat exists. That tension hath been heavy, but now it is being lifted. As this focus sharpens, you will notice something surprising. The situation is smaller than your worry made it seem. The unknown is less intimidating once light touches it, and the role you play in it is more secure than you assumed. That is what divine clarity does. It reduces imagined threats and magnifies truth. You are also being reminded that not every shift around you is negative. Some changes occur because alignment is improving. Some silence exists because things are being rearranged for your benefit. Archangel Michael's presence ensures that what unfolds will not overwhelm you. It will instruct you. There is also a strengthening happening within you. The more you resist reacting impulsively, the more stable you become. The more you choose observation over accusation, the more authority you gain over your emotions. This is spiritual maturity forming in real time, and you are handling it better than you realize. What is about to be revealed will settle something that has felt unsettled for weeks. It will not explode into your life. It will click into place quietly. A realization, a conversation, a confirmation. And when it happens, you will recognize that you were being guided toward calm, not chaos. Type "Peace surrounds me" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 114 is now activated. And as you reflect on this protective presence, understand something deeper. Messages like this do not reach people by accident. They are part of a larger mission to spread light into moments of confusion. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks, channel membership, or a PayPal donation using the link in the description or the PayPal QR code flashing in this video, you are not just supporting a platform. You are helping release clarity into someone else's storm. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and today that promise speaks directly to you. When you give, you are sowing into fertile ground where souls are strengthened and hearts are steadied. I feel led to say this clearly. I am inviting you to become a living bridge for someone else's breakthrough. Do not miss the blessing attached to obedience in this moment. As you give, may open heavens respond over your life, and may the same protection covering you expand over your household. Step into this act of faith now and seal it with action. Hold this awareness gently, because what unfolds next will deepen your understanding even further. The focus has only begun to sharpen, and you will be grateful you allowed clarity to replace fear. There is a reason the situation has remained quiet until now. It was not hidden to deceive you. It was concealed to prepare you. Timing is everything in the spiritual realm, and what feels delayed is often being developed with precision. If this had surfaced abruptly weeks ago, you might have responded from emotion rather than wisdom. If it had stretched on much longer without clarity, doubt might have taken deeper root. But the timing unfolding now reveals something important. You are ready. Divine timing does not rush. It does not panic. It does not scramble to fix what appears uncertain. Instead, it works beneath the surface, bringing details that you cannot yet see. Think of how foundations are built. Before any visible structure rises, there's digging, measuring, reinforcing. That stage looks unimpressive from the outside, yet it determines the strength of everything that follows. The quiet phase of this situation has been foundational. During this silent period, you were growing in ways you may not have noticed. Your discernment sharpened. Your patience deepened. Your reaction slowed. What once would have triggered immediate confrontation now invited thoughtful observation. That internal growth was necessary. Without it, clarity could have turned into conflict. But now, you are able to see without exploding. You are able to understand without accusing. That is maturity forged in silence. There is also protection in delay. Sometimes the reason something remains hidden is because other pieces are still being aligned. Other people involved in the situation may have needed time to reveal their true intentions, not through dramatic confession, but through consistent patterns. Patterns tell truth over time. Words can mislead, but patterns expose direction. The silence allowed patterns to become visible. Perhaps you were tempted at moments to force answers, to initiate a conversation prematurely, to demand explanations. But something held you back. That restraint was not weakness. It was guidance. Acting too soon could have disrupted a process that needed to complete itself naturally. When truth unfolds organically, it carries more clarity and less resistance. You may also recognize that while the situation remained quiet, you were being repositioned internally. Certain of fear lost their intensity. Certain attachments loosened. Certain expectations suffered. Without even realizing it, you began preparing for either outcome, whether this shift brings confirmation or change. That flexibility is strength, and strength was required before clarity could arrive. Silence can feel uncomfortable. It creates space where the mind tries to fill in missing information. It can stir questions that echo louder in the absence of answers. But silence also reveals what noise hides. When everything is loud, you cannot hear your intuition clearly. When things become quiet, subtle truths rise to the surface. The quiet phase sharpened your inner hearing. Here is another layer to this. Not everyone around you was ready for exposure. If the situation involves other individuals, their readiness matters too. Some truths require ripening. If revealed too early, they can harden hearts instead of opening them. The delay allowed hearts to process. It allowed circumstances to shift gently instead of violently. In some cases, what has remained quiet was testing alignment. Not testing to cause failure, but testing to reveal loyalty, integrity, and intention. When pressure builds slowly, authentic character emerges. You have been observing more than you realized. You have seen consistency or inconsistency. You have noticed reliability or subtle withdrawal. These observations are clearer now because time has filtered them. You might even look back and realize that certain signs were present all along, but they did not disturb your peace because they were not yet significant. Now, with perspective, those same signs form a clear picture. That is the gift of delay. It gives context. Another reason the situation remained quiet is that clarity without stability can create unnecessary damage. Imagine receiving insight while still emotionally reactive. You might have spoken words you later regretted. You might have assumed intentions that were incomplete. But now, your emotions are steadier. You are less defensive, more grounded. That stability ensures that when understanding arrives, it strengthens rather than fractures. The quiet season also revealed your resilience. You endured uncertainty without collapsing. You maintained dignity without demanding control. You continued showing up in your responsibilities despite not having all the answers. That endurance built confidence within you. Now, as focus sharpens, you are not fragile, you are anchored. There is wisdom in realizing that not everything hidden is harmful. Some things are simply incomplete. A seed hidden underground is not dead. It is forming roots. What has been unfolding around you has required roots. Roots of truth. Roots of alignment. Roots of clarity. Without those roots, any revelation would have been unstable. As this quiet phase transitions into understanding, you will notice that the fear you once imagined does not match the reality you now see. That is because fear grows in silence when clarity is absent. But when clarity finally speaks, fear loses its exaggeration. This is why patience was required. This is why restraint mattered. This is why the situation did not erupt dramatically. It was being measured, balanced, prepared. Now you stand at the edge of awareness, not because something terrible is about to happen, but because something orderly is about to make sense. The quiet was not punishment. It was preparation. And as the next layer unfolds, you will recognize that divine timing has never been late. It has been precise. There is a distinct difference between sudden revelation and calm clarity. Sudden revelation can feel like a storm breaking open the sky, loud, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. But the clarity that is approaching you now will not arrive like thunder. It will settle like morning light. Gradual, gentle, turn. And when it fully rests in your awareness, you will realize that this is exactly what you needed. The situation that has been quietly unfolding around you is not about dramatic confrontation. It is about understanding. And understanding has a different texture. It does not shake your foundation. It strengthens it. It does not push you into reaction. It invites you into wise response. The clarity you are about to receive will not demand that you defend yourself. It will simply show you where you stand. For weeks, perhaps even months, you have been navigating subtle tension. Not enough to create conflict, but enough to create questions. Questions about loyalty. Questions about direction. Questions about whether something was shifting behind the scenes. That mental back and forth hath been exhausting. The mind tries to solve puzzles that are missing pieces. But now, the missing piece is being handed to you, not forcefully but intentionally. This clarity may come through a conversation that feels surprisingly calm. It may come through a realization that connects past moments into one coherent picture. It may even come through silence, where the absence of something tells you more than words ever could. However it arrives, it will carry peace with it, and that peace will be your confirmation that what you are seeing is true. Calm clarity feels different in the body. Your breathing slows. Your shoulders relax. The tension you did not realize you were carrying begins to dissolve. Instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, you begin to see practical next steps. Instead of feeling uncertain about where you stand, you feel grounded. That grounded feeling is not denial. It is stability. You may discover that what once looked like potential betrayal is actually miscommunication, or what felt like rejection is actually redirection, or what seemed like instability is simply transition. Clarity reframes situations without distorting them. It shows you what is real without exaggerating the threat. And here is something powerful. Clarity often reveals that you have more control over your response than you assumed. The situation may still require conversation. It may still require boundaries. It may still require adjustment. But you will no longer approach those steps from fear. You will approach them from awareness. Awareness changes posture. Instead of leaning forward in defense, you stand upright in confidence. Instead of bracing for impact, you assess calmly. That shift alone alters the outcome of any interaction connected to the situation. Because when you remain composed, You influence the atmosphere around you. You might also realize that certain worries were projections. When information is incomplete, the mind fills in gaps creatively, and not always accurately. Now, as truth becomes clearer, those imagined scenarios will lose their grip. You will see what was assumption and what was reality, and the distinction will free you. Clarity does not always mean that everything will stay the same. In some cases, it may confirm that change is necessary. But even then, it will not feel chaotic. It will feel orderly, like a decision that has been quietly forming inside you, waiting for permission to be acknowledged. When clarity confirms what your intuition already suspected, there is relief in that confirmation. You are not being prepared for loss. You are being prepared for alignment. Alignment sometimes requires letting go of illusions. It sometimes requires accepting truths that are simpler than your fears made them. But alignment always leads to steadiness. Another sign that clarity is near is your growing sense of detachment from panic. Notice how your emotions are less reactive than they were weeks ago. Notice how you are more willing to wait. That emotional shift is evidence that you are ready to see without distortion. The calm clarity you are about to receive will also sharpen your discernment moving forward. Once you recognize how this situation unfolded quietly, you will be quicker to identify similar patterns in the future. Not in suspicion, but in wisdom. Experience refines perception. There is also reassurance in knowing that clarity does not expose you to harm. It protects you from misunderstanding. When you understand a situation accurately, you are less likely to misstep. You are less likely to accuse unfairly. You are less likely to internalize something that was never meant to define you. The next phase will not feel dramatic. It will feel resolved. Even if conversations are still ahead, your internal world will be settled. And that internal settlement is what truly matters. Because once you are steady within, external movement cannot destabilize you easily. You will look back at this period and realize that what you feared most was the unknown, not the reality. And once the unknown becomes known, its power shrinks. So receive this assurance. The clarity coming to you carries peace with it. It will not rush you. It will not pressure you. It will gently anchor you. And when it does, you will recognize that everything leading up to this moment was preparing you to handle it with grace. The fog is thinning. The ground beneath you is solid. And the understanding arriving next will confirm that you were never as vulnerable as you once felt. Something deeper than external clarity is happening right now. While the situation around you has been quietly unfolding, there has also been an internal shift taking place within you. An emotional reset. Not dramatic, not explosive, but steady and transformative. You may not have recognized it at first because emotional resets do not announce themselves. They unfold gently, like tension slowly releasing from a tightened muscle. In the beginning of this quiet season, your emotions may have been restless. Your thoughts circled the same questions repeatedly. You tried to analyze every detail. You replayed conversations in your mind. You wondered if you missed something important. That mental repetition created subtle exhaustion. Even when nothing visibly changed, you felt drained. But notice what is happening now. The emotional charge is decreasing. The urgency to figure everything out immediately is fading. The pressure to confront or control the outcome is loosening its grip. That is not resignation. That is recalibration. An emotional reset occurs when your spirit chooses peace over panic. It is the moment you realize that constant mental tension does not produce better results. It only clouds perception. And slowly, almost without noticing, you have begun releasing that tension. There may have been a turning point, perhaps a quiet realization that no amount of overthinking could accelerate clarity. Perhaps a moment when you felt tired of carrying uncertainty. Or perhaps simply a subtle shift in perspective where you decided to trust timing rather than force answers. That moment marked the beginning of this reset. The mind and emotions are deeply connected. When the mind senses threat, the body reacts. Heart rate increases. Sleep becomes lighter. Weight is soaring. But when the mind receives reassurance, even subtle reassurance, the body responds differently. Breathing steadies. Muscles relax. Thoughts slow down. You may not have consciously chosen calm, but calm is choosing you. This reset is preparing you to respond wisely once full clarity arrives. If you were still emotionally charged, even accurate information could trigger defensive reactions. But now, you are less reactive. You are more reflective. That shift changes everything. You are also releasing assumptions. Assumptions can feel convincing because they are built on partial evidence. A small change in someone's behavior becomes a complete narrative in your mind. A delayed response becomes a story about rejection. A subtle distance becomes proof of betrayal. But as your emotions settle, those narratives lose their intensity. You begin questioning your own interpretations with greater balance. This is growth. Emotional maturity is not about suppressing feelings. It is about discerning which feelings are rooted in truth and which are rooted in fear. The reset you are experiencing is helping you separate those two. Another sign of this reset is your increasing ability to observe without internalizing everything. You are beginning to understand that not every shift around you is about you. Not every mood belongs to you. Not every tension requires your immediate involvement. That awareness is freeing. In past seasons, uncertainty may have triggered urgency within you. You may have felt compelled to fix, clarify, or resolve immediately. But now, there is space between stimulus and response. That space is powerful. It allows wisdom to enter before words leave your mouth. It allows discernment to form before decisions are made. This reset is also strengthening your trust. Trust not necessarily in other people, but in your own stability. You are realizing that even if the situation unfolds in an unexpected way, you will handle it. You will remain composed. You will adjust if necessary. That quiet confidence is replacing anxious anticipation. There is something always sacred about emotional recalibration. It feels like a cleansing. Old fears surface briefly and then dissolve. Old insecurities lose their volume. Old patterns of overthinking begin to fade. And in their place, there is steadiness. You may notice that conversations that once would have triggered irritation now feel neutral. Situations that once stirred suspicion now feel manageable. This does not mean you are ignoring reality. It means your emotional center is becoming anchored. Anchored emotions lead to wise action. When you are anchored, you are not easily manipulated by someone else's tone or timing. You do not rush to fill silence. You do not feel threatened by temporary distance. You remain grounded. The emotional reset taking place is not accidental. It is preparation. You are being strengthened from the inside out. And when internal strength increases, external uncertainty loses its power. You may still have questions. You may still be waiting for certain confirmations. But notice how those questions no longer feel sharp. They feel patient. That patience is evidence of peace returning. The most powerful outcome of this reset is clarity without chaos. You are not detaching because you do not care. You are detaching from panic because you trust the process. That trust stabilizes your perspective. As this emotional reset completes, you will recognize how much lighter you feel. The weight you were carrying, much of it self-imposed through worry, will lift. And when clarity arrives fully, it will land on a steady foundation rather than a trembling one. You are not the same as you were at the beginning of this quiet unfolding. You are calmer, stronger, more centered, and the transformation within you is just as significant as the situation unfolding around you. Peace is not something you are chasing anymore. It is something you are embodying. And from that place, everything becomes clearer. As clarity deepens and your emotions stabilize, the effects will not remain internal. They will begin to influence your relationships and your environment. When you shift, the atmosphere around you shifts as well. The quiet situation unfolding is not isolated. It touches the dynamics of how you interact, how others respond, and how energy flows in your daily spaces. You may begin to notice subtle changes in conversations. People who once seemed guarded may become more transparent. Those who were distant may either lean in or drift further away. This is not coincidence. When clarity enters your awareness, it subtly adjusts your tone, your posture, and your expectations. Others feel that change, even if they cannot name it. If this situation involves a specific relationship, you may find that unspoken tension begins to dissolve naturally. Sometimes tension exists not because of active conflict, but because of misinterpretation. When you stop projecting fear into silence, the silence loses its weight. Conversations become less loaded. Eye contact feels steadier. The need to decode every word fades. In some cases, however, clarity may reveal imbalance. You may recognize patterns you previously excused. Perhaps you were overextending yourself emotionally. Perhaps you were giving reassurance while receiving uncertainty. Perhaps you were carrying more responsibility for maintaining harmony than necessary. This awareness is not meant to create resentment. It is meant to restore balance. Balance in relationships begins with boundaries. And boundaries are not walls. They are lines of respect. As you grow steadier within, you may find it easier to establish healthy limits without hostility. You may say less but mean more. You may listen more, but absorb less negativity. That shift protects your peace. Your environment will also reflect this recalibration. The spaces you occupy, your home, your workplace, your daily routines, will begin to feel different. Not because the furniture moved or the walls changed, but because your perception has stabilized. A room once filled with subtle tension may now feel neutral. A workplace that once felt unpredictable may feel manageable. When your internal world is chaotic, external environments amplify that chaos. But when your internal world is grounded, the same environment feels less threatening. That is the power of emotional and spiritual alignment. You may also notice that certain connections become clearer in purpose. Some people are aligned with your growth. Others were aligned only with a previous version of you. As you stabilize, those misaligned connections may gently fade. This does not require confrontation. Sometimes distance happens naturally when frequencies no longer match. There is wisdom in allowing that process to unfold without forcing it. Not every relationship is meant to continue at the same intensity forever. Some serve specific seasons. Some teach necessary lessons. Some remain lifelong anchors. Clarity helps you distinguish between these roles without bitterness. If the quiet situation unfolding involves professional dynamics, you may begin to see shifts in authority, communication, or opportunity. You may recognize who truly supports your growth and who merely tolerates it. That understanding empowers you to navigate wisely. Instead of reacting to subtle competition or insecurity, you remain focused on your own steadiness. One powerful change you will experience is reduced emotional reactivity. When someone speaks sharply, you will not immediately internalize it. When someone withdraws slightly, you will not instantly assume rejection. This does not mean you ignore warning signs. It means you interpret them with balance rather than fear. As your perception sharpens, you may also find that you speak with greater calm authority. Your words carry less defensiveness and more clarity. A tone alone can de-escalate situations that previously felt tense. People often mirror the emotional state presented to them. When you remain composed, others subconsciously adjust. Another important shift involves trust. Not blind trust in everyone around you, but confident trust in your own discernment. You will begin to recognize when something feels aligned and when it does not, without second-guessing yourself. That self-trust stabilizes relationships because you no longer rely solely on external validation. You may also feel a stronger desire to protect your peace intentionally. That might mean limiting exposure to unnecessary drama. It might mean choosing silence instead of argument. It might mean investing more time in environments that nourish you rather than drain you. These are not avoidance strategies. They are wisdom in action. Your home may feel lighter. Your conversations may feel clearer. Even your daily routines may feel more intentional. When internal clarity increases, external chaos loses influence. There is also divine protection over your space. As you align internally, external negativity has less access to destabilize you. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means their impact lessens. You respond instead of react. You assess instead of assume. Ultimately, what this means for your relationships and environment is simple but profound. Stability attracts stability. When you are anchored, you draw interactions that reflect that anchor. When you are calm, you influence calm. The quiet situation unfolding around you is not isolating you. It is refining how you engage. It is clarifying who stands with you and who stands at a distance. And it is teaching you that your peace does not depend on controlling others. It depends on understanding yourself. As you continue forward, observe the shifts gently. You will begin to see alignment where confusion once lived, and that alignment will shape every relationship and space you step into next. You are approaching a decision point, not necessarily a dramatic crossroads where everything changes overnight, but a subtle internal moment where you choose how you will respond to what is becoming clear. The situation quietly unfolding around you is no longer hidden in fog. You see enough now. You sense enough now. And with awareness comes responsibility. The temptation at this stage is reaction. Once clarity begins forming, the mind often wants to act immediately. It confront. A question. A correct. A secure certainty. Reaction feels powerful because it creates movement. But movement is not always wisdom. And this is where discernment becomes essential. Archangel Michael's guidance in this moment is steady and measured. He is not urging you to charge forward. He is reminding you that strength is not loud. True authority is calm. When you respond from wisdom instead of reaction, you protect not only your peace but your position. Reaction is fueled by emotion. It seeks immediate relief. It wants to close the gap of uncertainty quickly. But wisdom understands timing. Wisdom knows that sometimes silence carries more influence than words. Wisdom recognizes that not every realization requires immediate exposure. You may feel an internal push to clarify everything at once. But pause. Ask yourself whether clarity has fully matured or if you are still processing. There is power in letting understanding settle before speaking. When you speak from settled clarity, your words carry weight. When you speak from emotional urgency, your message can lose precision. This decision point is also about choosing perspective. You can interpret what you now see as threat, or you can interpret it as information. Information empowers. Threat intimidates. The facts of the situation may be the same either way, but your interpretation determines your response. There may be a conversation ahead. There may be a boundary that needs to be expressed. There may be an opportunity you must decide whether to pursue or decline. But none of these require haste. The steadiness you have cultivated in recent weeks is your advantage. Do not abandon it now. Choosing wisdom over reaction also means resisting the urge to assume worst intentions. Even if something feels misaligned, allow space for context. People move through their own internal processes. Not every delay is deception. Not every shift is betrayal. Some are simply transitions unfolding imperfectly. At this decision point, you are being invited to act with measured clarity. This might mean asking questions instead of making accusations. It might mean observing one more pattern before concluding. It might mean choosing not to engage in an argument that would drain your energy unnecessarily. You are stronger than you were when this quiet unfolding began. That strength shows up now as restraint. Restraint is not weakness. It is controlled power. It is knowing you could react, but choosing alignment instead. You may also need to decide internally that your peace is not negotiable. No matter how the situation resolves, you will not surrender your stability to someone else's inconsistency. That internal commitment changes your posture. You stand differently when you are no longer trying to manage outcomes. There is something profound about recognizing that you are not required to prove your awareness. You do not need to reveal everything you perceive. Sometimes wisdom is silent observation. Sometimes the most powerful move is allowing others to reveal themselves without interference. If you feel tension rising as this decision approaches, breathe into the calm clarity you have already received. Remember how far you have come from the anxious overthinking of earlier weeks. You are not in that emotional state anymore. You are centered. This moment is not about winning. It is about aligning. It is about responding in a way that honors your growth. When you choose wisdom, you prevent unnecessary conflict. You maintain dignity. You create space for resolution rather than escalation. You'll be grateful you understood this before making your next move. The choice you make in response to clarity will shape the tone of everything that follows. Type divine clarity guides me in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 329 is now activated. And as you stand at this decision point, recognize something deeper. This channel exists to help souls respond with wisdom instead of reaction. When you support this mission through super thanks, channel membership, or a PayPal donation through the link in the description or the PayPal QR code appearing in this video, you are sowing into a harvest of discernment across the world. The word declares that when you sow generously, you reap generously, and this is fertile ground. I am asking you to become a carrier of this light so that others facing their own decision points receive clarity instead of confusion. Do not hesitate when obedience stirs your heart. As you give, may oil of wisdom rest upon your household and may doors of alignment open before you. Step forward now and seal your faith with action. This is your moment to choose calm authority over emotional impulse, and that choice will echo further than you realize. Now that you stand at this place of clarity and measured response, the journey does not end here. In many ways, it begins here. What you have experienced through this quiet unfolding has sharpened something within you, your spiritual awareness. And moving forward, that awareness must be strengthened intentionally. Spiritual awareness is not about constant suspicion. It is not about analyzing every movement around you. It is about discernment rooted in peace. It is the ability to sense shifts without becoming shaken by them. Over the past weeks, you have learned what subtle tension feels like. You have learned how silence can carry information. You have learned how your intuition whispers before circumstances speak loudly. These lessons are valuable. Do not forget them once this situation fully resolves. One of the most important ways to strengthen your awareness is by protecting your peace daily. Peace is not passive. It is guarded. It requires boundaries around what you allow into your mind and heart. Pay attention to conversations that drain you unnecessarily. Notice environments that stir confusion rather than clarity. You now have evidence that subtle shifts matter. Honor that sensitivity instead of dismissing it. Another key is reflection. Take time to review what you sensed early in the situation and compare it with what later became clear. This reflection builds confidence in your discernment. When you see that your early intuition was not irrational but perceptive, you begin trusting yourself more deeply. That trust reduces anxiety and future uncertainties. You must also guard against overcorrection. Sometimes after gaining clarity, people swing to extremes, becoming overly cautious, overly guarded, or overly skeptical. That is not the lesson here. The lesson is balance. Awareness without fear. Observation without paranoia. Confidence without arrogance. Your spiritual awareness grows strongest when it is paired with humility. Remain open to learning. Remain open to adjusting your interpretations. Awareness is not about being right all the time. It is about staying aligned with truth as it unfolds. Going forward, you may notice that you detect subtle dynamics more quickly. A slight change in tone. A pause before an answer. A pattern repeating. These perceptions are not meant to make you restless. They are meant to make you prepared. Preparation reduces surprise, and reduced surprise strengthens stability. You will also benefit from strengthening your internal stillness. Stillness is where discernment sharpens. When your schedule is overloaded and your mind constantly stimulated, subtle awareness dulls. But when you create moments of quiet, even brief ones, you recalibrate. You give your intuition room to surface without interference. This season has also shown you the value of patience. Not every insight requires immediate response. Sometimes the most spiritually mature action is waiting for confirmation. In the future, when you sense something forming quietly, you will remember this experience. Instead of reacting instantly, you will observe. Instead of assuming the worst, you will gather context. As you move forward, keep your communication intentional. Speak clearly when necessary. Ask direct questions when appropriate. But do so from steadiness, not suspicion. When your tone reflects calm authority, conversations unfold differently. You influence outcomes simply by how you carry yourself. If this message has strengthened your awareness and helped you navigate a situation that once felt uncertain, take a moment to engage with it. Like this video so it can reach someone else who is sensing a quiet shift but struggling to interpret it. Subscribe to this channel to continue receiving guidance in moments when clarity matters most. And share this message with someone who needs calm discernment instead of anxious reaction. Your engagement spreads understanding further than you realize. Spiritual awareness also involves gratitude. Even challenging seasons carry lesson. This quiet unfolding has refined you. It has exposed areas where fear once dominated and replaced them with steadiness. Gratitude seals growth. When you acknowledge how far you have come, you prevent yourself from slipping back into old patterns. There may be future situations that echo this one in subtle ways, but you will not approach them as the same person. You now know what it feels like to allow clarity to mature before acting. You know what it feels like to choose wisdom over reaction. That memory will guide you. Strengthening awareness also means releasing lingering doubt. Sometimes after clarity arrives, the mind tries to revisit old fears out of habit. When that happens, remind yourself of the evidence. Remind yourself how the situation unfolded more gently than expected. Remind yourself how calm replaced chaos. That memory is proof of growth. You are not becoming hardened. You are becoming discerning. There is a difference. Hardness closes the heart. Discernment protects it while keeping it open. As you continue forward, carry this awareness lightly. Do not let it weigh you down. Let it empower you. Let it steady your steps. Let it shape your decisions. And remember this. What began as a quiet situation around you has transformed into a strengthening within you. That is the true outcome. Even with clarity increasing and your awareness sharpened, there is still a part of this story that remains just beyond your sight. You have sensed the shift. You have steadied your emotions. You have chosen wisdom over reaction. But there is an outcome forming that you cannot yet fully see. And that unseen outcome is not working against you. It is working quietly in your favor. When situations unfold slowly, we often assume that the delay means uncertainty. But sometimes delay means orchestration. Pieces are being arranged outside your immediate perception. Conversations you are not part of are shaping direction. Decisions are being weighed carefully. Circumstances are aligning in ways that require timing you cannot control. What feels incomplete to you is simply still in motion. The outcome you cannot yet see is already influenced by the calm posture you have chosen. Because you did not react impulsively, you preserved stability. Because you did not accuse prematurely, you preserved credibility. Because you remained observant instead of defensive, you preserved authority. These preserved qualities are now shaping what happens next. You may be tempted to push for final answers, to secure certainty quickly. But rushing the outcome would interfere with the refinement process that is still underway. Think of how a structure must settle before it is fully secure. If weight is placed on it too soon, cracks can form. In the same way, this situation needs its natural completion. There is also something important to understand. Not all outcomes are loud. Sometimes resolution arrives quietly. A shift in behavior confirms your intuition. A subtle change in tone reveals alignment. An opportunity opens that makes previous tension irrelevant. You may not receive a dramatic declaration. Instead, you will experience steady confirmation. You might discover that what once felt threatening becomes insignificant. The power it seemed to hold over your thoughts diminishes. It fades into perspective. That, too, is an outcome. Not every resolution requires confrontation. Sometimes it simply requires clarity that reduces emotional weight. There may also be restoration involved. If miscommunication played a role, understanding can rebuild stability. If distance formed, mutual awareness can close the gap. If uncertainty lingered, transparency can restore balance. But restoration only works when reactions have been restrained, and you have practiced that restraint. At the same time, prepare your heart for the possibility that alignment may look different than you expected. Sometimes the unseen outcome involves redirection rather than reinforcement. A path that once seemed secure may gently close so that a better one can open. That is not loss. It is protection. Trust that what is forming beyond your current vision has already accounted for your growth. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of this unfolding. Your steadiness has influenced the atmosphere around you. Others may even adjust their behavior because they sense your calm confidence. Stability is contagious. There is also divine justice operating quietly. Justice does not always look like public correction. Sometimes it looks like quiet rebalancing. Positions adjust. Intentions reveal themselves through consistency or inconsistency. Favor shifts toward integrity. And all of this can happen without dramatic exposure. You may notice that as days pass, small confirmations accumulate. Each one may seem minor on its own, but together they form a clear pattern. That pattern is your outcome taking shape. It is subtle but undeniable. Be mindful not to sabotage the unseen outcome by revisiting old fears. When the mind grows impatient, it sometimes tries to reopen doubts that have already been resolved. Resist that pull. You have already seen enough evidence of protection and preparation to trust the process. The outcome you cannot yet see is not a test designed to trap you. It is a resolution designed to stabilize you. It may bring relief. It may bring confirmation. It may bring a new opportunity that makes the previous uncertainty seem small in comparison. But whatever form it takes, it will not arrive in chaos. Remember how this began, with subtle tension and quiet questions. Compare that to where you stand now, calm, observant, steady. That internal transformation is already proof that the direction is positive. Growth rarely accompanies destruction. Growth accompanies alignment. You may wake up one day soon and realize that the situation no longer holds emotional charge. It will simply be part of your story, an experience that refined you. That quiet release is often the clearest sign that resolution has completed its work. What you cannot yet see is already being prepared. Doors that need to close are softening. Doors that need to open are aligning. Conversations that need to happen are forming in the right tone. And you are being positioned to step into that outcome without fear. Hold steady. Let the final pieces arrange themselves. The unseen is not empty. It is active. And when it becomes visible, you will recognize that every moment of patience was shaping something balanced, fair, and aligned with your peace. Now that you have walked through the quiet unfolding, the emotional reset, the decision point, and the unseen outcome forming beyond your sight, there is a deeper layer that must be understood. This situation was never only about the situation. It carried a greater purpose, one that reaches beyond temporary tension and into long-term transformation. When something quietly stirs around you without immediate explanation, it activates growth in hidden places within you. It exposes where fear still lingers. It reveals how quickly your mind creates narratives. It highlights how much control you truly need in order to feel secure. And as uncomfortable as that exposure may feel, it is refining. The greater purpose behind this unfolding was to strengthen your spiritual confidence. Not confidence in outcomes, but confidence in your ability to remain steady regardless of outcomes. That kind of strength cannot be taught through ease alone. It is built through navigating uncertainty without losing peace. You may not have realized it at first, but this season was stretching your discernment. It was teaching you the difference between intuition and imagination. It was helping you recognize when a feeling was rooted in truth and when it was rooted in fear. That discernment will serve you long after this specific situation fades. There was also a deeper lesson about timing. You learned that rushing for answers often creates more confusion. You learned that silence can be strategic. You learned that waiting does not equal weakness. Those lessons are foundational. They prepare you for future moments when clarity will again require patience. Another purpose was revealing attachment. Perhaps you were more emotionally tied to a certain outcome than you realized. Perhaps you felt a subtle need for validation from someone involved. Perhaps you were hoping circumstances would unfold in a specific way. The situation gently confronted those attachments. not to shame you but to free you. When attachment loosens, peace strengthens. You begin to realize that your stability does not depend on a single conversation, person, or opportunity. You become anchored internally rather than externally. That shift is profound. This experience also sharpened your awareness of energy and alignment. You learned to sense when something felt slightly off. You practiced observing patterns instead of reacting to isolated incidents. That skill will continue guiding you. It is part of your spiritual maturity expanding. There is also purpose in how you handled this unfolding. You chose restraint. You chose observation. You chose calm authority. That choice strengthened your character. Character is built in moments when no one is applauding your patience. It is formed in private decisions to remain composed. Consider how differently this could have unfolded if you had reacted from fear. Conversations might have escalated unnecessarily. Relationships might have fractured. Opportunities might have closed. Instead, your measured response preserved stability. But preservation was part of the purpose. This situation also revealed your resilience. You endured uncertainty without collapsing into chaos. You attended functioning. You continued showing up in your responsibilities. You continued seeking clarity instead of feeding anxiety. That endurance proves that you are stronger than you once believed. Sometimes the greater purpose of a quiet challenge is to prepare you for a larger role. When you can navigate subtle tension wisely, you are being trained for greater responsibility. Responsibility requires emotional regulation. It requires discernment. It requires the ability to act from clarity rather than impulse. You are developing those qualities. There may also be a ripple effect beyond what you see. Your calm response may have influenced others involved. When one person refuses to escalate, it often diffuses collective tension. Your steadiness may have prevented unnecessary conflict in ways you will never fully measure. The greater purpose includes trust. Not blind trust in circumstances, but trust in divine timing and protection. You witnessed how clarity arrived gradually, not destructively. That experience builds faith in the process itself. The next time uncertainty arises, you will remember this season. You will remember how calm replaced chaos. Growth rarely announces itself loudly. It happens through experiences like this, quiet, subtle, refining. And when you look back months from now, you may struggle to remember why this once felt so heavy. That perspective shift will reveal just how much you have evolved. You are not leaving this situation unchanged. You are leaving it wiser, more centered, more discerning, less reactive, more confident in your ability to handle what unfolds. And perhaps the most powerful purpose of all is this. You now understand that clarity does not need to arrive with drama to be transformative. Gentle revelation can be just as powerful as loud exposure. This was not allowed to shake you. It was allowed to shape you. And shaping always carries intention. As you step forward from this season, carry the lessons with you. Let them inform your next decisions. Let them guide your next responses. Let them remind you that quiet growth is still growth. You are not being tested to fail. You are being refined to rise. As we come to the close of this message, pause for a moment and recognize how far you have traveled in understanding. What began as a quiet, undefined tension has transformed into clarity. What once felt uncertain now feels measured. What once stirred questions now carries calm awareness. And the most powerful truth of all is this: peace has already entered the situation. Before any visible resolution fully materializes, peace has taken its place within you. That is the greatest confirmation that you are covered. When divine protection surrounds you, chaos does not dominate your spirit. You may still observe movement. You may still witness adjustments. But internally, you remain steady. On April 1st, Archangel Michael brought focus, not to frighten you, not to alarm you, but to align you. And alignment has occurred. You see differently now. You interpret differently now. You respond differently now. That transformation is not small. It is evidence of growth that will carry into every future season of your life. The situation quietly unfolding around you no longer holds the same emotional weight. It hath been illuminated. It has been understood. And even if final details are still settling into place, you are no longer standing in confusion. You are standing in awareness. Take a deep breath and acknowledge the shift. Notice how your body feels compared to when this message began. Notice how your thoughts feel less urgent. Notice how your perspective feels broader. That is peace anchoring you. Whatever outcome continues to unfold, you are prepared for it. If restoration strengthens a relationship, you will step into it with wisdom. If redirection opens a new path, you will move forward without fear. If boundaries must remain firm, you will uphold them without guilt. You are equipped. There is also assurance in knowing that you were never alone in this unfolding. Even when silence surrounded you, protection stood beside you. Even when clarity felt delayed, preparation was active. Even when your mind wrestled with possibilities, truth was forming quietly. You may look back at this season one day and realize that it marked a turning point. Not because something dramatic happened externally, but because something solidified internally. Your trust deepened. Your discernment sharpened. Your emotional stability strengthened. Peace is not the absence of movement around you. It is the presence of steadiness within you. And that steadiness is now established. Let it remain. Guard it gently. Carry it confidently. If lingering doubts try to resurface, remember what you have learned. Remember how clarity arrived without chaos. Remember how restraint preserved dignity. Remember how patience revealed truth. These memories will anchor you if uncertainty ever whispers again. You are not fragile. You are not behind. You are not unaware. You are aligned. And alignment changes everything. Walk forward from this message with quiet confidence. Speak calmly. Observe wisely. Respond thoughtfully. Trust that what needs to be revealed will be revealed in the right tone and at the right time. You do not need to chase clarity anymore. It has already begun unfolding. Type "I walk in peace" in the comments. Blessing code 888 is now activated. And as this message settles into your spirit, understand the sacred responsibility we carry together. When you support this mission through super thanks, channel membership, or a PayPal donation using the link in the description or the PayPal QR code appearing in this video, you are helping extend this peace to souls who are still standing in confusion. The word declares that those who bring light into darkness will shine like the dawn, and today that promise speaks over you. I am calling you to sow into this ground so that rivers of clarity continue flowing across nations. Do not delay when your spirit feels the prompting. As you give, may doors of provision open before you and may divine protection rest over your household. Act now and seal your faith with movement. Carry this assurance with you. The situation is not spiraling, it is stabilizing. The unseen is not threatening, it is aligning. And your life is not drifting, it is being guided. Peace has entered. Clarity has spoken. Protection remains. Walk forward in it.